a Chinese plane manufacturer that is apparently ready to get into the electric car industry. So this is really something different to see such a pivot, right? We talk about pivot in business, we talk about change, but it really shows us a couple of things about the plane market, the EV market, but also this company's attitude on pivoting. So let's jump into it today. I think it's an interesting case study. It'll help us think about our businesses and how we might pivot or how we might change our alignment. As always, we'll be talking about some legal issues here, but this is not legal advice. Consult your own legal advisor. Also, this is not financial or investment advice. What are they thinking? Why would a plane company move into the electric vehicle market? We're picking this article up via Reuters, and it talks about this Chinese company, Geneo Group, planning to enter the booming EV space. And that probably tells us a lot of it, right? Is that they think the EV space is booming. So they're an established Chinese plane manufacturer. If we scroll down here later in the article, we learn that they are losing money. So obviously, that is a motivation for many businesses to think about, how do I make more money, right? So with them having a net loss of $1.9 billion for the first half of the year. And rough math, I haven't checked the exchange rates recently, but that's probably somewhere, in the range of, divide by seven, I think is the right factor here. So 200 million, $300 million in US dollars, this company is losing. So they're not doing real great. So they want to jump into EV cars. Why would they jump into EV cars? Well, I think one thing that makes a lot of sense with the EV car space is people are going to be buying these cars, right? They're getting forced into it. The gasoline car manufacturers are coming down. Here in the US, we're about to have some tax credits, but we know those tax credits aren't going to work on a lot of the cars, at least early on, based on the Inflation Reduction Act terms. So a lot of people are going to have to be finding new alternative cars. So they may be looking to foreign cars. Don't know whether this company will be looking to come into the U.S. market. But this appears to be a classic pivot. They're thinking, where is the next market? They're already manufacturing a vehicle of sorts. Of course, a plane is a large vehicle. Now, can you use that same technology and same know-how to start making cars? And I think the short answer is yes. A car and the plane have a lot of the same assembly type functions. You can probably get many of your skilled employees to move over. You may actually even be able to use some of your production space or tooling to go from one to the other. So it's really an interesting thought. And you have to also remember how these large Chinese companies work. A lot of them are kind of supported. A lot of these people have an ex-military tie. They have a lot of support. The country wants to make them successful, right? So here in the U.S., of course, we have our too big to fail companies that are just so huge that they'll get a bailout no matter what. Plus, they're politically connected. In China, what we have is, obviously a Communist Party rule. They pick the winners and losers. So if they have somebody they want to win, they're probably going to find a way to help that person win. So I think that may be a big piece of this. It's certainly a pivot. This is a huge shift in business, but they're looking at the market. And are they making a bad decision looking at market conditions? Everybody's talking about EV cars. Many of the world governments are pushing for EV cars. Plane market is kind of a legacy business, high dollar, not really favored right now. Travel is off. People here in the U.S. are certainly not traveling, and I understand that a lot of that's happening around the world as well. People just generally aren't traveling at the same levels they were, either for economic reasons, because of the hassle factor, because of the entry and exit requirements in certain countries, creating challenges for certain individuals based on their medical status. There's a lot of reasons why you could see the plane industry being under a lot of attack, and you see the EV vehicle EV vehicle market as being a future market, right? As one lawyer told me, there's crazy money out there. There's people looking to invest. They're chasing things to invest in. And, EV vehicles, because it's getting so much press and so much focus and there's so many dollars being allocated to it, there is going to clearly be some winners and losers in that. And I don't know much about this company. I don't know much about their technology development, but if they can take a leadership position in creating an EV vehicle and have something that has technology and know how that others don't have, then other people will be probably beating on their door for that information. And that may lead to partnerships across other countries. So if they can be successful and if they can jump out in the coming years, as this EV market evolves, I expect a lot of alliances, a lot of crossovers, some mergers. There's going to be a lot of strategic transactions around electric vehicles because some people are going to figure it out, others aren't. The tax credits are there. The federal purchasing dollars here in the U.S. are going towards EV vehicles. There's a push to buy electric vehicles at all levels of government. And with all that, people are going to have to figure out a way to supply it, even though the technology is not there, right? Meanwhile, we have car manufacturers here in the U.S. that are making EV cars that are getting massive recalls. Some cases, the manufacturer is telling you not even to put the car in your garage, and they're towing it back to the dealership and dealing with massive warranty issues because they've rushed out to get these EV cars out, and they're suddenly finding they're not working the way they anticipated or have unanticipated issues. And of course, the expense of the battery, the used car market is going to change extensively because EV cars are going to be questionable. A lot of change going on in the world. So that means opportunity, and some people are going to come out of this as winners. Is the EV market hot? I think it is. I think a lot of people feel a necessity to try it out. I have a lot of friends that have jumped into EV cars because of gas prices, trying to economize. I don't know how many of them are thinking about the pure green aspect of it because obviously there's a lot of questions about the greenness of EV cars when you're getting your power from the grid and then you're using all these batteries and other terrible chemicals and things that go into an EV battery. So the green part of it isn't working, but with the tax credits, with the gas prices being as high as they are, a lot of people are seeing that economic incentive, and then the government is jumping fully behind it between the tax credits, the purchasing programs, all the things they're doing makes it look like it is a very hot market. It may not be naturally hot if the technology standing on its own without government intervention probably be struggling right now. Not many people will be buying these EV cars. But with the government coming in with the incentives, with the dollars to spend, with the encouragement, we now have a hot EV market, and this is replicated around the world. Even China, where they play, in my opinion, they put more lip service on environmentalism than actual work and details. Even in a place like China, there is going to be increasing demand for this, and perhaps this company can strike some exports. So it's a pivot. It's a pivot to a hot market. What can we learn for our businesses? Let's bring this all together. For our businesses, we need to keep an eye on parallel markets, right? And I think planes and cars are parallel markets. Similar heavy manufacturing issues, similar capital intensive issues as far as buying machinery, equipment, same inventory management issues as far as getting an assembly put together and all the pieces that go in there. Obviously, you're going to probably have different suppliers, you have different parts. There's probably not many part numbers that are crossover between a plane and a passenger car. So there's a lot of work to be done as far as re-gearing to it. But those core skills that your employees have and those core systems that you have would transfer. So while it may not seem obvious on its surface, a pivot from a plane manufacturer to an EV car manufacturer may be a not unrealistic pivot. It may be a way that companies could go and still make a profit and still work things out. So not a crazy move. What does it teach us for us? We need to be watching our parallel markets. We need to see what's happening. And if we're making planes, I'm with this company. I think that market's got some long-term issues, and it's going to be highly competitive because of the decreased travel, which is going to mean decreased travel demand for planes, because the planes aren't going to be wearing out at the same rate. That's going to mean, maybe a struggle in your core business. So what can you do? How can you reuse your skill sets? I think this company's made a good decision. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of work in the execution, getting the right leadership team, getting knowledge in a new market. They're behind now if they're moving into the EV space, but it's very doable. And you and I can make the same type of analysis with our business. What have we been doing? What's been working? What is the trend of the future? And how do we move to that future trend? All great stuff for us to figure out. All right, folks, thanks for tuning in. Love to hear your comments about this below. Drop them below. Let me know what you're thinking. If you haven't done so yet, if you're a business owner, business leader, and you're interested in legal and business topics that connect to your business, please subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. Also, please give the video a like and share with your friends if they'll find it relevant. We just want to keep building this great community around here. I'll see you in the comments.